All right, Sister Riziki, we are live. We are live. We are live.
Bam.
We are live. So, okay, welcome to Tea Talk with the Sisterhood.
Yes.
Sister Riziki, where's your teacup, sis?
I'm a teacup, boo.
That's what's up. It's Tea Talk with the Sisterhood. Let me sip my tea. All right. So it's Tea Talk with the Sisterhood. We meet every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. to discuss pertinent issues in the community. And so what I wanted to do was create a platform for sisters to have a voice. There are numerous platforms out there, but they're typically male dominated. Not that women don't have a voice on these platforms, because we do, but there's not many platforms that are controlled and governed by the sisterhood. So that was really the goal of creating this talk with the sisters. And I was blessed to have some very, very supportive sisters around me. Sister Riziki has been like a comrade of mine since about 2014. And so when I came at her with the idea of a tea talk with the sisterhood, with the sisters, and forming, a strong, solid, she was on point. We're live, sis, right now. So, and I have Sister Alima who's joining us today, but I was so blessed to have a circle of sisters who are willing to speak on this platform and give their thoughts on pertinent issues. So before we get started, I want to introduce myself. No, before we get started, I would like to pay homage to the ancestors. We always start our show off with that. And so we must acknowledge and pay homage to them, for we are incarnations of our ancestors, and we stand on their shoulders. And what I mean by on their shoulders, I use shoulders metaphorically for ancestral wisdom, which is our cultural treasure and inheritance. So the sisters and I, we understand that we are not only representations of our mothers and females in our family, but we are also representations of all of the females prior to our physical existence in this room, and even in the diaspora and on the continent. So we stand on the shoulders of people like Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, Satiwa, Queen Nzinga, Harriet Tubman, and all of the divine line of females who fought for the liberation of our people. Ashe?
Ashe.
All right, so I am Dr. Oya Mayat, and I am the co-founder and president of Ed Anime Productions. So before we get started and talk about the topic, I would like the sisters to introduce themselves to the listening audience.
Peace, family. As always, this is your sister, Riziki Zafira. I am your favorite cosmologist / sacred sexpert up in here. So peace and love to you, beautiful people.
Alafia family, Alima Njai, coming to you live. Peace and love to everyone.
All right.
All right. And these are I love both of these sisters who are on these are down to earth sisters. You too, sis. And we need more sisters to come. These sisters are fiery, they're strong, they're educated, they're African centered, and we need more sisters to join us. So if you are watching and you are a brother, please, point this, this show to your, tell your daughter and your wife and your aunties, your nieces, and whomever about the show, because we need more sisters involved with these tea talks. I often say that my focus really is on the sisterhood, and a lot of brothers feel some type of way when I say that. But these are brothers who don't understand that in order to elevate the nation, you have to elevate the woman. And so what we're trying to do is to elevate the mindset of our women, the sisterhood, because at the end of the day, if our sisters have a destructive mentality, since we are the first teachers of the children and the transmitters of culture, then we would transmit that destructive mentality to our children. And so that's why I work so hard to elevate and educate the minds of the sisterhood. So anyway, our topic for today is polygamy. Is it necessary? But wait a minute, before we get into the topic, Sister Riziki always talks about hot topics. She's like, I think we need to mention some hot topics. And one hot topic that's on my mind right now, Sister Riziki, Minister Farakhan. Did you hear what went down in California?
A little bit. That's what I'm
What
saying.
happened?
Go ahead, talk to me, sis.
Okay.
What happened?
So we're going to spend about 5 minutes on the hot topic because I know a lot of people are tuning in to hear our thoughts on polygamy. But for the hot topic, okay, so this is what happened with Minister Farakhan in California. An organization by the name of Black Nation, I believe that's the name of the organization. They put on an event in Cali this past Saturday. And I think Sister Zaza Ali was there. She spoke at the event. And Minister Farakhan was the keynote speaker for the event. Now, there were a lot of people in the audience from the LGBT community. And I think I'm missing a letter because I think they added like a Q and an X to the end of it. But I'm familiar with the LGBT like community. So anyway, there were a lot of sisters there from that particular community. Now, Minister Farakhan spoke on, during his talk, he spoke on homosexuality. And he was just telling the men in the audience, he was like, look, man, he said that, and don't quote me, but he said something to the effect of men, not stepping up and not taking responsibilities for their families and devaluing women and sexually assaulting women. And he was saying so much so that now women are starting to turn to other women for companionship and comfort.
Yeah.
So they said that the sisters got up in the middle of his lecture and walked out. And when I say the sisters, I'm talking about sisters from within that particular community. So they were offended by Minister Farakhan's remarks, and to protest his remarks, they got up and they literally walked out while he was speaking, And to be and they also put it out on YouTube and so different social media outlets. Now they're calling the minister misogynistic. And I'm like, Zaza Ali did a video on her page about this. And she's like, do you even understand what the definition of misogynistic is?
Exactly.
It means hatred of women. Exactly. And I don't think that anything the minister said signaled or signified that he was misogynistic. I mean, he was speaking of, what he said was factual. It was factual. He was saying, look, we see an epidemic of women turning to other women for companionship and comfort and things of that nature. And he's like, look, talking to the men in the audience, saying that I'm blaming you. You guys, sexually assaulted women, you devalued women, you didn't, you weren't responsible in relationships that you had with women. So now this is where we are. So to be honest, to me, I think that he was coming at the guys more so than the homosexual females, but they got very offended by his remarks. They're now calling the minister misogynistic. This is a minister, this is a brother who's been, Farakhan has been, he's 84 years old. He's been, since I can remember as a child, Minister Farakhan has been, out there, lecturing and on the battlefield for our people. So I was highly offended by the remarks that these sisters made. So how do you feel about that, Sister Alima and Sister Raziki? What are your thoughts on it?
This is my first time hearing about it, but from what you are explaining, I'm trying to figure out what the sisters are upset about. It's like, not just the sisters, but just in general, when you kick truth, no one seems to like it. So because he was blatantly honest, people are upset that he actually had the audacity to tell the truth. The truth is that there are so many women who are turning to other women now. And I do believe that a big part of it has to do with the relationship between male and female. I really do.
I have to back that up. And again, in my work, I know this to be true because this is what women tell me. And granted, there are some who've just never been interested in men. Okay, that's one thing. But there are other women who are opening themselves up to the possibility of exploring relationships with women because they're tired of the men. So, or the treatment that they've got from men. So I can't say across the board, all women went to women because of that particular reason. But let's be honest, it exists. There are women who are giving women a chance because they're tired of dealing with men. And
how many women
will say that?
how many women sisters do we know that have so many children and now they are lesbians? So they've been with men for a long time, but something has changed in that dynamic to now they want to be with a woman. I see that every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There you go. So yeah, they need to stop being unrealistic. I sometimes people take stuff so personal. It's like, stop trying to bring it back to you. You know what I mean? Like, you're not the only one in this situation. Like, there's possibilities across the board because there's more than one way that people think. So again, we ain't even got to spend long on that. It's the truth at the end of the day. So.
I felt like he was speaking facts, and I felt like he was speaking facts. And when I mentioned this situation to my older cousin, Shawnee, she was saying that when you say things like a lot of women are turning towards other women because they've been, molested, sexually assaulted. Some of them have daddy issues. Some of them have, issues with men. She said, now you're taking away that theory that you're just naturally gay or born gay. You get what I'm saying? She said, it's like, now you're taking that away from them. And she said, I think that's why they were so offended, because a lot of those women are saying, hey, I think I'm naturally or organically, homosexual. And so she said, when you give it a reason and you say, well, no, maybe you were molested, or maybe, you had some childhood trauma, or maybe this, maybe that. Now you're taking that away.
Right. Because that's not true. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was saying that that may have been why the sisters took offense to the minister's comments. Second hot topic and last hot topic, there was a sister who put a video out. And I think she has a few videos on YouTube. Her name is Sister Geneva. And she's been getting a lot of views, actually, coming at the conscious community saying, look, she was like, she even mentioned my name. She was like, I see, and she didn't say anything negative. She was just saying that she sees all of this drama going on in the quote unquote conscious community. And she was saying, how is it benefiting our people? So the sister spoke truth. But in speaking truth, she said, I think she called herself a same-sex attraction. I think she said, I have a same-sex attraction, basically saying that she's a homosexual. So then you had brothers who were attacking this sister, saying things like, well, how can you be conscious or how can you call yourself conscious or even African-centered if you are professedly, a homosexual? So what are your thoughts on that, Sister Riziki? Because I remember Sister Wakisho had mentioned that in another show. She was saying that it would be interesting to talk about that. Like, should homosexuals be allowed into? And so I think that we should do an entire show on that, by the way. But I know that this sister's out there and she's not ashamed. She's like, look, I am what I am. But just because, I have this particular preference doesn't mean that I'm not down for fighting for the liberation of Black people and in doing that, trying to, work for the service and the betterment of our communities. So how do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about her being attacked because of her sexual preference?
I think it comes to a point where so let's just say this sister, let's just say me, for instance. I go out in my community, I farm, I do, healing works with men and women, I do workshops, but then I go lay down next to a woman in the bed. Does that take away from the work or the effect that I have on people's lives by helping them? I understand the concern of young children being exposed to certain behaviors that particular parent may not want their child to be exposed to. I totally get that. But we also have to take a look at the fact that there are a lot of heterosexuals in the conscious community that are broke, that do not support business. They attack women who are wanting to elevate themselves, or because they don't have the same spiritual beliefs or whatever the case. It's like, if you're not attacking somebody based on who they have sex with, you're attacking them based on their beliefs, their ideas, the way they choose to worship, so forth and so on. I'll also say that for me, there has never been a homosexual who has done anything wrong to me. So for me to sit up there and say that they should not be, you know, included in certain things, I can't fully agree, because you're basing this whole person on who they have sex with. Again, I understand not wanting to expose your children. I understand the idea of, you know, it's man and woman, it's unnatural. I get all that. Trust me, I do. But to just alienate a whole person because of who they're sleeping with, rather it be they feel like they're born this way, or they choose to because they're tired of the opposite sex, or you know, they were molested or abused. I just don't think that's fair to do that to people, and it's none of my damn business. I feel like as a conscious community, we have more to worry about economically, which, by the way, homosexuals have a lot of income, because, you know, and I'm not saying heterosexuals don't, but because heterosexuals can produce children, so that's another expense homosexuals can't. And there was a study, I forgot which one it was, but saying how homosexuals have more expendable income, if that's the correct word. So, I mean, hey, look, I'll take your gay dollar, whatever. Like, I ain't got time to be worried about who sleep. I'm worried about our economics, okay? I don't care about who you sleeping with, whatever. That's
okay. Sister Alima, what are your thoughts, sis?
Well, I definitely don't think the sister should have been attacked on the basis alone of her sexual preference. I also don't feel like because a person may be a homosexual that automatically means that they cannot contribute or they are not important. You know, like, it doesn't negate the fact that they have something to contribute to the community. You know, I often mention, I remember one time I put up a post about Bayard Rustin, and I was asking people, do they know who he is? And most people, of course, they didn't, but Bayard Rustin was one of the biggest facilitators within the I Have a Dream speech and within that movement. He was one of the people on the back burner that was doing a lot for Dr. King, and he is a homosexual. Wow. And then we can also talk about Asa Philip Randolph, who was also side by side with those brothers doing the same thing. And actually the school that my children go to is named after him. He's a homosexual. So
Asa is a homosexual?
Yes, he was a homosexual.
Wow, sis.
So does that take away from what they did and what they contributed? Should we not pay attention to that because they're homosexual? My issues with homosexuals only come in when you put your homosexuality as if it is a need, as if it is something that I need to be included in. I need to accept the fact that you're this way, and you're going to put it in my children's face. Now, when you have that attitude that you can't separate it, and you feel that that's some type of movement and that goes before all the issues and all the things that are happening in the Black community, I can't respect that. Now, at the end of the day, I don't agree with homosexuality. It's not African. It's not conducive to growing families, which is what we need. Homosexuals can't have babies, and I don't agree with children growing up in homosexual households. But that's my personal feelings. But do I feel that they can't contribute or that a person should be rejected on the basis of that alone? Not at all. Because time and time we see that people have already done so, and they were homosexual people. Just keep that to yourself. At the end of the day, I should know who you're sleeping with anyway.
And my last point I just want to say to that is, you know, I was surprised there was a brother from Uganda, and even when I went to Kenya, some of the Ugandans from there admitted it, but some of their royalty was gay. The King Mwanga the second of Bugandi, he was, you know, known to have sexual relations with men and other kings or royalty prior to him. Does that take away from what he did for his country? You know what I mean? So this whole gay thing, we want to blame it on one particular race or whatever. Like we have to stop that and be realistic that this has always existed in our communities from the beginning of time. And the fact that our civilizations were still able to flourish even when some homosexual activity was going on. And I don't think it was as broadcast. It may not have been well known, but it doesn't take away from the advancements we made. So, you know, whatever.
Definitely. And I think
now, I have to correct myself because I don't think that A. Philip Randolph was gay. So I take that back. I'm getting confused. He was definitely one of the people in the movement, but Bayard Rustin for sure was a homosexual.
Okay.
But Philip Randolph, I just wanted to clarify that. I do not think that that's not true. I didn't mean that.
Okay, no, sister, I got you. Thank you.
I don't want to slander that brother. You know, have his family coming after me like, wait a minute. So,
right. I got you, sis. And also James Baldwin. James Baldwin
exactly
was a homosexual, and he was one of the most prolific writers of his day. And in fact, I think they're coming out with a movie about his life. And is it in February, Sister Alima? I know that it's coming out.
It's February or March. I just heard about it not too long ago.
Yeah, and he was, and I mean, I saw videos of him. He was flaming, you know. Well, he spoke up for, you know, for Black rights, and he wrote about it in a lot of his literature. And so I completely concur with the opinions of both of you sisters. Yeah. So now on to the topic of today. Today's topic is polygamy. Is it necessary? And I want to share with the listening audience that the impetus for this topic was birthed from a conversation that I had with Sister Alima on Facebook. She put up a post about polygamy. And sister, I don't know exactly, what did you say? Could you read the post, or can you kind of?
It was pretty much sarcasm, and I was just basically saying that polygamy is for men with money. And I was like, your minimum wage job will not suffice, you know. So of course they came out the woodworks with, you know, reasons as to why it would suffice, but that was the gist of the post.
Okay. So when they came out the woodworks with the outlandish, some of them had made outlandish comments regarding polygamy. Sister Alima and I, we were on the telephone, and I was like, yes, sis, this will be a hot topic, you know, to discuss next Wednesday. So she said, all right, sis, set it up and I'll be there. So that was the motivation for this topic today. So I put up the flyer, and we got a huge response from that. And so, you know, I'm ready to go in. The first thing I would like to show, and I'm going to share my screen with the brothers and sisters in the audience. Can you see my screen, sisters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so you see these. Okay, so
break it down, sis. Break it down.
We had to go in because when I put the post up, there were sisters who said, Dr. Maya, you're not keeping it balanced because you're talking about polygamy, but you should also mention polyandry. So what I had to remind my sisters on my post is that polygamy encompasses not only polygyny, but polyandry.
Exactly.
So what is polygamy? Let's look at the definition. Polygamy is marriage in which a spouse of either sex may have more than one mate at a time. So polygamy, when you talk about polygamy, it could be a woman with multiple men, or a man with multiple women. Okay, so polygamy encompasses both polyandry and polygyny. So what is polygyny? Polygyny is the state or practice of having more than one wife or female mate at a time. Polyandry is the state or practice of having more than one husband or male mate at one time. So, you know, what kills me, Sister Alima, is that when brothers say, I believe in polygamy, do you not understand that polygamy also encompasses polyandry?
No, they don't.
And then when you bring up what polyandry is, they say, well, no, I can't handle that. Well, that is what polygamy is. Polygamy also encompasses polyandry. So you need to say that you believe in polygyny and not polygamy if you are a man who believes that men should have multiple wives or multiple female mates. So I just wanted to put up the definition so we're clear on what is polygamy, what is polygyny, and what is polyandry. So check this out, Sister Alima. A lot of those brothers, I think on your post, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of them said, well, you know, we should practice polygamy because for population growth purposes, for purposes of population growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I did my due diligence and I went to Black Demographics, I think it's either .org or .com. Black Demographics, I want to say it's .org. They have a lot of statistics on they provide us with a lot of statistics on the Black population. And they base their statistics on the U.S. Census Bureau. I believe that now they have on one of their pages, they talk about the Black population from year 1790 to 2012. All right. So you have these brothers who are saying we need to practice polygamy or polygyny for the purposes of population growth. Well, let's look at this chart, Sister Alima, and see if Black people ever had an issue with population growth. And I'm saying despite mass incarceration, despite homosexuality, despite homosexuality, mass incarceration, what else, sister? The murder, the Black on Black crime. Despite this, the Black population has always increased. So let's look at the year 1770. 1770 in the U.S., there were 757,000 Black people. And then we could skip right here. Let's go down to 100 years later in 1890. By 1890, there were 7.4 million Black folks, okay? Black people. Let's bring it up to 1990. By 1990, there were nearly 30 million Black people. Now let's go to 2012. As of 2012, there were 44 million Black people. And that number has declined. I think that the last report I got in 2015, they reported that there are 39.9 million Black people in the United States. But I just wanted to show this chart for brothers and sisters who believe that, you know, we need to practice polygyny for the purposes of our population growth. Then you have brothers and sisters, Sister Halima, who say that we need to practice polygamy because of the ratio of men to women. You know, they say the ratio of men to women. There are more women than men. You know, and I do believe, Sister Halima, that in certain areas you might have more, you know, of a concentration of one than the other. You know, in a particular area, in a particular demographic. However, that isn't true across the board. According to the U.S. Census Bureau 2013, in 2013, there were 23.5 million Black women in America. Now, this is the percent compared to males. 52% of the Black population are females, which would mean that 48% are males.
Exactly.
Okay. But if you compare the totals, let's look at, it says under 18, 49% are under 18. So that means for males under 18, you're looking at 51%. Okay. So females between the ages of 18 and 34, 51%, males will be 49%. Females between the ages of 35 to 64, 53%, which means that the males will be 47%. 65 and older, over 60%. We make up 60% of that population, whereas males make up around 40%. That's because they say that females do live longer. Due to certain behaviors. You know, we go to the doctor, some of them don't, and we kind of, you know, at that age. So anyway, the point of me showing this is that the ratio of men to women isn't as drastic as people make it seem.
Exactly.
You know, they make it seem like, you know, now if I looked at these numbers, I'm looking at 52%, males are 48%. Granted, you know, that's 4%. And when you look at 4%, I mean, that is, I'm not going to say it's huge, but that is a significant difference. However, when you look at it, you know, I was thinking when I looked at these stats that I was going to see maybe, you know, women are like 60, 70 or 80, you know, you get what I'm saying? 60 or 70.
Exactly.
And then the males were only like 30 or 20. Then to me, that would be, you know, that would be something drastic. But the ratio of men to women or women to men, it doesn't differ by much. All right. So then you have brothers who say, well, I want to practice polygamy for ancestral reasons. All right. Well, the ancestors, they say they want to practice it. I'm sorry, because the ancestors practice it, you know. But we have to understand that when they were practicing polygamy, they practiced it for a reason. You know, they have reasons for doing it. One reason was for economic purposes. They wanted to build a labor force. And when I say polygamy, I'm talking about men and women. So you had some women who had multiple husbands, and you had men who had multiple wives. And they said that, and they did it. And I got this information based off of the work of Ife Amadou Ume's work, Male Daughters, Female Husbands, Gender and Sex in an African Society. But she talks about the reasons why the ancestors or her ancestors in her particular tribe, which is the Igbo tribe in Nigeria, the Nobi tribe. And she was saying that they practice polygamy out of for economic purposes. They said to build a labor force. They said it was security for elderly women. They said for supportive systems such as childcare and domestic health. Some women were barren and couldn't bear children, so they practiced polygamy for that. And then some people, and this is not what she said, a cure to infidelity. I was doing some additional research, and some women did feel, especially some women in Mali, feel like feel that they should practice polygamy to cure infidelity. So I don't know. One of the sisters, can you guys elaborate on, do you think that any of these reasons would be a reason why we should practice polygamy today for economic purposes, for security, supportive system, because you're barren, or is it the cure to infidelity? So how do you sisters feel about some of these reasons? Because this is what the brothers are saying.
I'm looking at the because you're barren reason, and I'm trying to figure out how does.
I mean, I guess because like the whole surrogate thing, right? Like if you want a child but can't have one, then you have a sister wife and y'all kind of share that child together.
Oh yeah.
So I get that. For me, like this whole economic labor force, right? So this is where it ggets funny because there's a lot of and I know Dr. Mayat, you big on them statistics, sis, so correct me if I'm wrong. But when it comes to the availability or when it comes to jobs, career, right? There's such this talk about, especially in the conscious community where men feel as if, look, it's hard for us to get a job. We're not able to get it. There's so many blocks and stuff. It's the women who are getting the job. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, then maybe the woman should have the multiple husbands, because why, if you can't get a job, brother, why, what you need multiple wives for? No, like we need the multiple husbands if we're being the breadwinner. So that whole economic thing for me doesn't convince me totally. Security for elderly women. Okay, I can understand that. It may be a shorter dating pool. I can understand that. The supportive systems, the child care, domestic help, I can understand that. The barren thing, my thing is too, not even women who are fertile don't want children. And some of them don't need to have no damn children. I know you saw some of the moms today, some of them just don't need to have children. So some of these arguments I get. Oh, and also curing infidelity. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, because men and women cheat. Let's just be real. And if you have a man with multiple wives, there's going to become times where a woman is going to feel left out. And if a man isn't balanced enough, he may do the favoritism thing. Or hell, the woman may get tired of the same sex that he gives. She may just get tired of him overall. This is another reason why women cheat. So to cure infidelity, it's not as strong as an argument for me versus the supportive child care system and security for elderly women. Economic, the barren thing, the cure to infidelity, it doesn't sit as strong with me personally.
Sister Alima, what are your thoughts, sis? I love that. I agree with you, Sister Riziki. I love it. Beautiful.
I don't think, number one, there's a cure for infidelity. I think there's a decision to be a one woman man, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I mean? I think that's a decision. I just don't think there's quote unquote a cure. So I think that a man who has an overwhelming desire or overwhelming attraction that he can't control for women, I don't think that a million women would help him, because that's something that he lacks control.
Yeah.
So I don't think that has any and discipline. So I don't think that has anything to do with it. And then can you put that back up?
Yes. Yes, sis.
I had it right. Barren. So I do agree with the sister that a sister can have a baby for you, that would help out, blah, blah, blah. Supportive systems, childcare, domestic, yes, of course, quite naturally, the more the merrier, because it takes a village. Security for elderly women. Yeah, I suppose. Okay, I can see that. Economic labor force, that I don't agree with.
Hell no. Sorry.
First of all, traditionally, like I've stated already, and we already know, polygamy was for wealthy men and for a reason. All these women, because they're not going out working. And then also we have to remember, this is ancient times where they were literally pretty much starting up the earth, so to speak. So they were populating the earth. So there was a need for a man to impregnate as many women as possible because they were building a nation. We're not building a nation. We have millions and millions, and we have billions, even if you talk about globally.
That's right.
Everywhere. So we don't need that. That's not our issue.
Right.
And you know, when they talk about, a couple brothers have talked about for capitalistic purposes or for economic purposes, like we're still speaking on. My thing is, we don't have issues, you know, as far as, of course, capitalism affects everybody, but in 2015, Black people spent $1.1 trillion in America. So clearly, we have money. We don't know what to do with the money. We don't know how to invest it. That's our problem. It has nothing to do with one man coming together with 3 women. How is that going to solve, if the 4 of you don't know what in the world you're doing as far as economics goes, and how the 4 of you idiots coming together going to make a difference when it comes to economics? So that argument is very mute. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, hold up.
Get in it, sis. Get in.
Because I love it. I love it when a dude be like, hey, listen, the reason why it should happen because a woman can only carry 1 seed at a time. Look, you know, I'm trying not to get emotional. But here's the thing. See, our purpose mainly, okay, I'm going to say this. We have more, we have more than one purpose. Our only purpose here is not to have children. Like, we have more purposes than to have children. Because if a woman's sole purpose was to come here and have children, then no woman on this earth would be barren. Every single woman would be fertile. Every single woman would be a good mother. And there's so many children today in broken homes and in the foster care system that, you know, that argument just needs to stop, because we can go out and adopt these babies who don't have homes instead of trying to make some more. So let's scratch that. Our only purpose here is not to have babies. So yeah, we can only have, you know, 1 child at a time. But again, not every woman is meant to have a child. Not every woman is meant to have a mother. So that's a weak argument. Here's the fact today. I know what nature says. Nature says, yeah, we can only be pregnant at 1 time. But here's the facts. The facts is, like I mentioned before, in ancient times, royalty and land was inherited through the woman. As a matter of fact, when it came to land, the queen mother, the Kentucky, the Candace, actually ruled with her brothers, not her husband, aka a consort. Okay, that came a little bit later. So land, if we want to talk about economics and get back to our ancient times, land was inherited through us. Royalty was inherited through us. And if you go back far enough, Kentucky's actually had more than 1 consort. As a matter of fact, and even if you do the etymology of husbands, it literally just meant a man of the house. Like you a slave in the house, a man of the house. So a Kentucky had more than 1. Women have more than 1. So understanding that when we come to, oh yeah, more than 1 wife because she can only have 1 baby at a time, man, stop. Because some women are better business women than they are mothers, and that's just facts. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the fact that maybe this is what that woman is here to do, because like I talked to Dr. Mariana about, even in chess, the queen makes way more moves than the king. So let's just stop that. And I'm sitting my tea on that one, because
that's the tea, sis. I want to show the brothers and sisters this book. This is a book, The Cultural Unity of Black Africa, the Domain.
I was just about to quote that book.
Yeah, I was
just about to quote it.
I got it right here. The Domains of Matriarchy and of Patriarchy in Classical Antiquity by Sheikh Anta Diop. And sis,
Sheikh Anta Diop.
Oh, I always say Sheikh Anta Diop. It was French. Diop. But let me show you this real fast, sis. Let me share my screen with you all. Let me know if you see it. Let's see what the ancestors had to say about it. Let's go to see what the ancestors said about it. So if you turn to his book, okay, on page 52 and 53, this is what he says. He says, in the beginning, monogamy was somebody mute their mic, please.
Yeah, I think there's a new sister on the line, so.
Yeah,
please mute your mic, sis. So on page 52 and 53, Shikanti Diop says this. He says, in the beginning, monogamy was the general rule, since Osiris only had one wife, Isis, whose name is an alteration of the Egyptian expression, I want to say is Seit or Sit. It is interesting to note in passing that these two words in an African language, Walif, mean the newlywed, the bride. Seth, the brother of Osiris, also was monogamous. His wife, who was also his sister, Nephthys. Up until the end of Egyptian history, the people were monogamous.
What is that noise?
Yeah, everybody mute their mic.
Everybody mute the mic. Everybody mute your mic. So it says, up until the end of Egyptian history, the people remained monogamous. Hold on. Let me mute the mic. Let me mute somebody's mic because everybody's mic isn't muted. Okay, now it is. All right. So let me go back. So up until the end of Egyptian history, the people remained monogamous. Only the royal family and the court dignitaries practiced polygamy. Let me say that again. Only the royal family and the court dignitaries practice polygamy in varying degrees, depending on their wealth. So Sister Riziki and Sister Alima, that goes back to what you guys were saying when you said, well, wait a minute, you know, you want to practice polygamy, but you don't have the wealth.
Exactly.
Polygamy.
Exactly.
Hold on. Let me finish reading this, sis.
Okay,
this appeared to be a luxury grafted onto family and social life instead of being the primordial foundation of it. Now, hold up. Let me elaborate on something. So what is Diop talking about right here? Well, if you study some of the African cosmogonies, dualism is the centrality of the African cosmogonic systems. So in the pyramid text, they talk about three systems. You had the Heliopolitan, the Memphite, and the Hermopolitan, right? So let's look at these systems. This is the Heliopolitan Anid meaning 6. So when it talks about Nun, and out of the waters of Nun came Atum Ra, it says that Atum Ra gave birth to Shu and Tefnut. So it's talking about complementarity, duality. It didn't say that Atum Ra gave birth to Shu and Tefnut and Josanne and Wash and Titi and Jennifer. It said he gave birth to Shu and Tefnut, complements. Shu and Tefnut gave birth to Geb and Nut, complements. Okay, Geb and Nut gave birth to Wasir and Aset, right? Complements. And they also gave birth to Seth and Nephthys, complements, duality. Okay, so let's go to the Memphite system. Even in the Memphite system, you talk about Patum Nun, right? Patum Nun giving birth, well, out of the Patum Nun, out of the waters came the primeval mound. Out of the mound that was Atum, and then Atum gave birth to the Heliopolitan Anid. But let's get to the Hermopolitan Agdoed, right? We talk about opposites here. So you had Nun, which was matter, and then you had Nunet. Then you had Het and Het. You had Kuk and Kuket, Amen and Amunet. So even in these systems, you see duality, the quality of being dual, consisting of two parts, elements or aspects, opposites, right? Complementarity, a relationship or situation in which two, it does say or more, different things improve or emphasize each other's qualities. Okay, so when we keep talking about the ancients and saying, well, the ancients did this, the ancients did that, now we see that polygamy was practiced amongst the wealthy. Sheikh also says in his book on page 114, he said, it seems that this was so in all Africa during the late Middle Ages until the 10th century, which marks the extension of Islam to the native population through the Almoravians. It says polygamy tended in this way to become general without ever ceasing to be a sign of social rank. Thus, it is not rare to see members of the lower classes who seeking to deceive themselves about their own social rank marry several wives. So Diop says it. Diop says, well, wait a minute. You know, it was like that in all of Africa. Monogamy was the rule of the day. He said until the 10th century when Islam, you know, during the extension of Islam. And then he said you had members of the lower class who married other wives. He said, you know, deceiving themselves about their own social rank. So marrying multiple wives was a sign of wealth. It was a sign of social rank. You had to have the means and the ability to take care of these wives. I'm so sick and tired, Sister Alima and Sister Raziki, hearing brothers tell other sisters that they need to engage in polygamy for economic purposes, but don't have an economic plan for these sisters. You know, don't have the means to take care of these sisters, but yet you want to indulge in a damn polygamous relationship, but you don't have any damn wealth. You want to get 5 sisters in one house and tell all of them to get on welfare. All right. Tell these sisters, I know brothers that do this, have 3 women living in one house, and they encourage the women to get on welfare and collect government assistance. You hear what I'm saying? And don't have a plan for these sisters. They're living off of these sisters and benefiting from these sisters. And since we want to talk about what the ancients did, and I'm going to open it up in one sec, I want to point you guys to the work of Ife Amadou Ume's work, Male Daughters, Female Husbands, Gender and Sex in an African Society, on page 85. This is what she said. She says, as each wife's dwelling was autonomous, that is, demarcated and independent from those of the other wives. So they didn't have 10 wives, Alima, sitting in the house collecting welfare checks and food stamps and all of that. Each wife had her own house, her own place. These brothers want to practice polygamy, but you can't even get these sisters into their own homes.
They don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of brothers actually have the nerve to say, well, we can do it together. I mean, if 3 sisters, if she has a job, if she's got a job, if she's got a job and I got a job, that's 4 incomes. That takes away from the traditional reason of polygamy. How are the women home to raise the children if they're all working?
Thank you. Like you said,
raising the kids. So now you're in the same situation. The kids are in daycare. What's the difference between just being a single mom,
right?
Or it's just a single husband and wife relationship? What's the difference? No one's there. Everybody's working because you don't have extra money, so everyone has to work to provide. That's not what polygamy is. The man is supposed to provide for the woman. Prime example. Polygamy, of course, as we know, in a lot of the Muslim countries in Africa, is still very prevalent. When we were in Senegal, the lady that we lived with, Khadijah, she was in a polygamous relationship. But guess what? She had her own house. And her house was big enough that she rents out apartments in her house. Wow. So that tells you how much money this man has. His other wife has her own house, and she rents out apartments in her house. They don't live together. That man can provide for them. You have to be able to provide, and that's the key factor that men don't understand. Traditionally, they don't get that.
I think you drove it home. I think you drove it home because their main goal is to get their shit together with other women.
Exactly.
Already having their shit together and saying, because they always like to bring up Brother Polite, right? And I'm like this, and I saw the interview. When Brother Polite and his wife decided to take on another wife, it's because they already had a business going. And the man became so vast that they knew they could not fulfill it themselves. Then they said, hey, let's bring on other wives because we have all this stuff to do, but yet our manpower is lacking. And going back to your presentation, and I'm so glad that you did that, because in the beginning it talked about the spiritual deities, if you will, being in a monogamous relationship, but yet the royalty, you know what I mean, was in these polygamous relationships. And it is said, like, even in our training dealing with Grand Trine, that and even Juju Mama, and you know, I appreciate her work, because her thing is, in order to master polygamy, you gotta master monogamy first. Like, how do you think you can make a relationship with other women work when you can't even get the one-on-one interaction down first? And understanding that monogamy actually does take high spiritual discipline to maintain, because you have to, because number one, like for me, it gets to a point where, yeah, the whole open relationship, polyamorous thing, I see the benefit, great. But to also know that I'm sharing my energy with other people, and those multiple people are then sharing energy with me, not realizing what exact energy I'm taking on. Can't, how can there be an even divide in love or attention and or growth when you're having to put your intention in more than one space? So again, the polygamous relationship is more so based on economic advancement than love and all that stuff. You see what I'm saying? When you're in a monogamous relationship, y'all are focusing on together. It's the yin and yang, masculine, feminine, positive, negative coming together and creating that one. But when you have the multiple, there's more dynamics that play a part than just let me just get my shit together. Nah, you gotta already have it together, brother. So that's that.
Love it. I love it. I want the sister to unmute her mic and speak on her thoughts. Sister, do you want to add anything? The sister that's...
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
can
I
you see me?
How are you?
I think that polygamy is really not necessary in this time. We have evolved. We're in a different time frame, a new paradigm now, and I think that is really a cultural, from a cultural perspective, from the ancient past. People are still dwelling in their lower nature. I don't think really people are looking at it for economical growth. I think people fears that they want met. That we have to a whole different new paradigm. We're not part of ancient past anymore. You know what I'm saying? We're part of the ancient future. So all this polygamy talk is really like a setback. When you look at how the world is going now, everything is evolving. That was once upon a time.
Right.
Who we are now and who we are evolving to be is not confined to that. We're evolving now to be individuals. Now, I'm not hating, you know, if someone wants to practice that culture, do that.
Absolutely.
That's the power of freedom, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever you like, but at the same time, don't make people who are conscious, or people who coming into their development, or women, make us think that we're less than if we're not participating in those type of cultural activities.
That's right.
We're in a new paradigm now. Everybody's not seeing it that way. So I think we need to create programs where we can be self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
That we have to always link up, like in that way, in order to grow. Because that's a whole nother. We're not even prepared for that way of life anymore. We're not on the continent. We're here in America, and the way this environment is set up to make to go to that level, and the men here are not ready for that, and neither are the women. So I think this is more of an individual journey. I think we should leave that in the ancient past and future and move forward.
Now, sis, I concur with what you just said. And in fact, Kwame Nkrumah has a book called Nation Building. And even in a lot of the speeches by Dr. Amos Wilson, he was saying that, look, we're in America. He said, we're not trying to recreate Egypt and Mali and all of those empires. He said, but what we do want to do, he said, is reconstruct our history. He said, refine and reinstitute our culture. Okay. The key word is refine. So that means grabbing that ancestral wisdom, right? Going back in time, grabbing that history, grabbing that ancestral wisdom, right? Refining it to make it conducive to the building of our nations. You get what I'm saying? We have to understand that environment gives rise to culture, right? because you want to adopt a culture that will allow you to survive and thrive in your environment. So what culture should we adopt here in the US? I'll tell you what, we need to adopt a culture of self-determination, self-sufficiency, right? Unification. You get what I'm saying? Spending our dollars within our own community, pooling our resources together to build educational institutions for our children so that we can take control of the total conditioning process of our babies, controlling the media so we can control what our babies see, what our families see. You get what I'm saying? Policing our own communities. So that's the culture that we need. And that's just some things that I thought of, but that's what we need to adopt. You get what I'm saying? And so our ancestors, like I said, Dr. Amos Wilson, and I know the elder Kwame Nkrumah is still living, but he's an elder now, but they were saying, look, we're not trying to, reinvent the wheel, but what we're saying, look, let's go in, let's refine some of these cultures, because he said there's timeless things, timeless principles that we can get from studying our indigenous cultures, like Mayat, the 42 principles of Mayat. Those are timeless values. So go into the culture, go into the history, extract that ancestral wisdom, apply what is relevant today. And I think a lot of brothers miss that. Like some of the things, some of the cultural things that they want to reinstitute, it isn't viable today. It isn't conducive to the betterment of our communities today, as we know of today. So we need to go back in time, like I said, refine and then reinstitute African culture. I think that's all I wanted to say. Any other?
Well, let me say something on that. I understand what you're saying. I can agree with that. I have nothing against that. People are not ready for that type of lifestyle. Again, we are evolving. Our thought processes are changing. And as you can see, even though we all look the same, that don't mean that we are the same mentally and spiritually. And that's one of the things that I think that we need to conquer first, to figure out what type of people are we really dealing with. Because just because we have the African genetics, spiritually, that's who we are. A lot of people are wrapped up in who you think they are, not who they really are. So we have to identify the kind of people that we're trying to connect with if we want to go back in time. My thing is, if we look at how technology is evolving, and we have to, because we have to keep up with it, as technology evolves, so does the people. So we have to be able, maybe we have to do another, create another process, a step, that if we wanted nations that you just a minute ago, then we need to take a different approach. Me personally, I just don't think we're ready for that. I think we're just in a new paradigm. And I know from your own experience that dealing with people out here, it's not what we really think. These people are not who we think they are. So I'm saying that check the character first, check the person, and get more spiritual. A lot of people look at spirituality as like mysticism, or they don't really connect with that. But I think that that's what we need to vibe more on, because before you can conquer anything else, you have to conquer what is within yourself first.
I'll agree with that, and I want to kind of open the conversation, because when we talk about spirituality in nature, there's a lot of people, rightfully so, and I've worked with a lot of them, so I get it, who just feel like naturally we're not meant to be monogamous. Naturally, it is normal to desire variety. And this is why a lot of couples nowadays, at least the ones I've worked with and what I see, like they're more into open relationships, meaning that, you may not deal with other people for economic reason, but just to feel that sense of fulfillment. Because for instance, like I'm not going to eat Honey Nut Cheerios for 2 years straight. Maybe I want some Apple Jacks, maybe I want some Frosted Flakes. I want some variety. And so I think that there's different reasons why people get into this discussion and they're lying about it. It's one thing to say, hey, and this is just being real. It's one thing to say, hey, listen, I would like multiple wives because one woman cannot fulfill me. Okay, let's just be honest and say that versus I want a couple wives because, you know, this economical, you know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to, man, no, just stop. And I think, too, that's another thing that gives polygamy a bad name because there has been a client of mine actually who was in a polygamous relationship. She had sister wives, but she also had another husband, and the men knew about each other. The women knew about each other. And when this woman decided, hey, I don't want to live with you anymore, I want to live with this other guy, but we're still going to interact because we have children, they were cool with that. That kind of arrangement, like, I really can't talk bad about because they're all grown adults. They know about each other. No one's feeling left out. Everybody's getting the same amount of attention. Like, there's not a lacking there. And many of these women who end up in these relationships, they end up feeling neglected. They end up getting jealous because they notice one wife is getting more attention. And even when you deal with having children with a lot of these wives, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's kind of like what we see today, but a lot of these children, and especially a lot of Africans that I know, they talked about rarely seeing their dad or interacting with their dad because their mom was the third or fourth wife. So, you know, how healthy is this dynamic if it comes to a point where women are feeling left out and neglected, and so are the children? So again, like, let's just be honest about why we're seeking these other relationships. It's rather you really have a goal and you're trying to build an empire, or you just feel like one woman can't fulfill you. Like, let's just be honest with that. Or one man can't fulfill you.
And let's be honest that, you know, like I say, a lot of brothers, Sister Riziki, they keep talking about multiple wives or multiple female mates. But we have to remember, polygamy also encompasses polyandry. And so I'm reading right now, page 89 from Ife Amadoume's work.
Yep.
As you can see, it's all marked up. I mark up every book that I get. On page 189, she says another interesting cultural classification is the Tonga institution called the wife of the district.
Here we go. Talk about it.
Let's talk about it. This woman organizes the other women and is in charge of the women's cults. Some Quilu and Kesai people, such as the Pinde, Bundi, Dinga, and Lili, have a similar institution called wife of the village. This woman participates in male, not female activities and has several husbands. Let me put it on the screen.
Several.
Let me point to it. Let me point to it. You see it? Several.
Yes.
Husbands. Okay. So polyandry existed. And then I want to put to rest, there was a brother under my post. He said, well, Dr. Mayat, monogamy is a European institution. I'm like, I said monogamy is a European institution, but you know, Diop, of course, Diop already laid to rest with, you know, that it wasn't, you know, we were practicing monogamy thousands of years ago. So exactly. Diop laid that to rest. And then he said, you know, that the Europeans didn't practice polygamy. So let's see what Diop had to say on that. Page 121 of his book, The Cultural Unity of Black Africa. What did Diop say? What did Diop say? Because they said, monogamy is a white man's institution, as if polygamy was the black man's institution. But anyway, let's see what the white people did. Let's see what the European folks did. It says on page 121, according to Caesar, the Celts of Great Britain had one woman for each group of 10 or 12 men, composed vaguely of brothers, fathers, and sons. Whoever brought the woman to the household was the nominal father of the children who were born. Here we are face to face with a type of polyandry, which must not be confused with group marriage. Polyandry is the exclusive property, he says, of the Indo-Aryans, with the exception of the Semites. He said it consists of forcing a woman against her will to assure the descent of a group of brothers or others. We have seen it flourish in Athens as here in Anglo-Saxon country. So Diop says that they did practice polyandry, which is a form of polygamy. So I wanted to lay that claim to rest for the brother who may or may not be watching broadcast. So sisters, we're going to get ready to close out. We normally run over, you know, with our shows. Typically we're on here for about an hour and a half to like 2.5 hours, but I'm really trying to do my best in keeping it short, keeping it to 1 hour. So like a lunch period, people might take their lunch period to watch the show on Wednesdays. So does any sister have any closing remarks on polygamy? Is it necessary at this point? Because that was the topic. Is it necessary?
I think we've already established, well, at least from our perspective, that it's not necessary. And then with the proper references, and to go back to Sheikh Antijob's book, he speaks on clearly, look at the sculptural and pictorial representations in ancient Africa. What do they represent? They represent one man and one woman. When I went to Egypt, the tombs, everything was laced with one king and one queen. No matter how many other wives they supposedly had. Queen Nefertari, her husband, he had 50 wives, it said. But she's the only one that had the tomb. So clearly, those wives were there for other purposes and not to necessarily be exclusively that king's queen. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I enjoyed the show. It was really good today. Good information.
Fantastic. Look, someone in the chat room said we need more time. Well, you know what we do is before we close out, before we give our closing remarks, because I have another sister got you, Riziki. Let's hear from the chat room. What are the questions, Sister Riziki? So, because someone just said we need more time to cover polygamy. We need more time. I think that the sisters actually, I think that we came with the research, we came with the facts, we let the ancestors do the talking for our stance on polygamy. Again, I believe that it's a personal choice. I don't knock people who practice polygamy. I believe that polygamy has its pros and its cons, but I'm pro-choice with that. Like, I'm not against brothers and sisters practicing polygamy at all. In fact, even on the continent, they still practice polygamy. I was reading an article. I may be able to bring it up, y'all. I may be able to bring it up, but there was an article published online about Mali, and it was saying over in Mali, when you get married, there's a box you have to check. Like, is this a monogamous, marriage, or is this, they practice polygyny there. So it was polygynous. So you've had to check monogamous or polygynous marriage. And over in Mali. So that, the brothers and sisters are still on the continent, practicing polygamy. Kudos to them. But like I said, here in the US, I think that it's even there is a choice. They still get choice over in Mali. But I think that we need to adopt behaviors that are conducive to building the Black community. And that's my personal opinion. But I don't knock anybody for practicing it at all. Again, I think that it has its pros and cons. But let's hear from the chat room.
So, there's just some comments talking about, which animals in nature, because everybody want to go to nature, about certain animals where it's polyandrous relationships and, certain opinions, and I agree with them about how we need to develop individually first before trying to go into these polygamous relationships. And see, I know, I like to talk about my tantra, especially because people call it pseudo. So I'm gonna talk about it even more. But that's another thing too. A lot of these brothers who want multiple women sexually, y'all can't even keep up. Like, y'all don't know how to ejaculate.
Not even with one.
You don't know how to jag on, hold,
no stroke,
the long stroke. Y'all don't know how to hit no G. Y'all don't even know the woman's anatomy to try to sit up there and talk about some. Yeah, and not to mention, these brothers act like you don't get tired of they same penis. We know what y'all gonna do. Lift your leg up here, turn around and it's the same.
Get it in. Yes.
So before you try to do that, okay, anyway. Another thing I want to bring up is I was reading about the Uruguay, I don't know how to pronounce it, in Nigeria, where polyandry was just outlawed in the 1960s. So this is a tribe that's actually been practicing you know, the polyandry in their particular environment. And then two, I'm not sure the lineage of the Amazon women, but you know, there was polyandrous relationships there. And I'm also pro-choice. I know that it can work, but I also know why it's not working, because as individuals, we're not evolved enough. And so, you know, this is why polyandry or polyamory had such a big economical influence, because there was a lot of people who was married who really didn't love each other, but because you own this business or land and I own this land and our families were both powerful politically, whatever, we came together. There were times when men had to marry women they weren't even attracted to because of the economic fortune that the union would bring. And so again, I just feel like, you know, if all adults are consenting, spiritually involved, and it's not one-sided, because what I've seen is the couples who are happy dealing with other partners is when both can deal with other partners, the man and the woman. So whereas when you see this man talking about, oh, you know, I can have 3 wives, but my wives can't mess with nobody else. I that's not okay, because there's these other stigmas where men say, well, we're men, so we're naturally born to have more than one wife. Well, who birthed you? Why do y'all think men are the only ones who have this quote unquote natural inclination to want multiples? Bro,
I don't know.
Birth you.
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, it came from me. That's who it came from. So if you can have the want for multiple partners, why can't I outbirth you?
Exactly.
Let me set my two. I'm done. Cause then
that's
let me with this.
Sis, that's very true. Men do have this thought as if women are just genetically trained to just, oh, it's just you and it's just all you and that's all I want. I mean, as if we don't want a variety as well. You know, if we could, like, come on now.
Let's talk about it. I mean, you know,
we're all human. We are all human.
Yes, exactly.
I agree. I agree, brother.
You're right, Ayana. Sexual.
Oh, and how sis, how you were talking about people like to bring up animals, but the closest animals that we're related to, which would be primates, the gorillas, are they not monogamous? Don't they stay with the same gorilla until she passes? I'm about to look this up in a second, but I'm pretty much like 90-something% sure.
Look at this, because that would be the bomb.
I'm looking it up right now.
We can end with that bombshell. That would be the bomb, because like you say, we liken ourselves to the animals, but like you say, our closest living ancestor, and a lot of people, is it closest living ancestors, Alima?
I don't want to say ancestor. Let's just, because I don't want to think that.
Come on, sister.
Yes, it is. It is, sis.
It is. Okay, if the science, because I know you on your factuals. You know, you be up on your factuals, sis. You feel me? I just, you know,
you're not ready to accept that we evolved, sis. That should be another topic. Maybe we could get into that next week. We could talk about
right. Yeah,
I could see how we evolved, but you're right. I'm willing to admit I'm not ready to embrace it, even though I slick know. You know what I'm saying? But I'll get there one day.
No, we can get it in next week on evolution and go through the fossil record. Okay. And show we can talk about why evolution is true, you know, because as African people, you know, we have a saying that everything is everything, that everything is interconnected. Yeah. Everything is everything. That's why
I'm gonna have to look deep into it, because I see conflicting information. So I'm gonna come back with that information.
That'll work. That'll definitely work. But are there any other comments, sis, in the chat that we can that we need to address, Sister Razika?
Let's see. Okay. So well, Sister Ayana brought up about, you know, this argument kind of being one-sided because women have been sexually oppressed, which is very true. And we're more, because we've been more so objectified as sexual objects, you know, that it plays such a serious part as to this polygamous part, again, because, or polygynous part, because again, men feel like, oh, well, we're men, so we need more than one woman, which indicates this whole thing about, you know, sexuality.
Tell Sister Ayana, she joins us often, I believe.
Does. Big shout to Sister Ayana.
She needs to join the panel. Ask her right now, does she want to come in?
Yes, sis, Ayana, you want to join the panel, sis, let us know. We'll shoot you the link for the panel because you definitely do support. And we see the brothers in there representing, but this is Tea Talk with the sisters. And y'all do, let's keep it real. Y'all have enough platforms out there where y'all could, you know, do y'all thing. So this is definitely for the sisters. Okay.
This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send Sister Ayana the link right now. And if a brother, I'm gonna put it in the chat room. If a brother clicks on it, he's just gonna get ejected. It's gonna be embarrassing.
Here's the thing I want to bring up, sis. Mr. Sean P. Big shouts to Sean P. because he be on it too. So
yeah.
Made a comment. Ain't no man gonna accept that. That's what he said. And I'm assuming he's talking about
polyandry.
Polyandry.
So this is the issue with men and their ego. Okay. It is, but for the simple fact that you sit up there and think that it's okay for you to have choices, if you will, while your woman doesn't, is very egotistical and selfish. Again, I don't you. There is nothing that you feel that I don't feel. Now, we may not operate the same way, but just like women cheat, it's because we tired of the same shit you doing, or we've been exposed to it, and we want variety. Some women, and I know a couple sisters who are married and their husbands know about their partners. And I found these men to be very secure in themselves, have a healthy self-esteem, have a healthy ego. A lot of the men who will not accept this is because of your own ego. You're worried about this man performing better than you. You're worried about this man being able to provide your woman something that you can't. That's exactly. The ego. So the reason why men don't accept it, it's from an unhealthy space. Because if you were about loving your partner, you would want her to be happy. And if it included another person that can provide her the energy that you can't, why would you have a problem with that? It's because of your ego. Check your ego, bruh.
Hey, look, Sean just said he is hilarious. He said, I guess I am insecure. He is hilarious.
he know I love him, no, but whatever. Okay.
Oh man, I put the link in the chat room to see if Sister Ayana would come in and give her closing remarks. I'm kind of, I thought the sister that was on was going to give us some closing remarks. Rizika, how do you feel? Give us some closing remarks, sis.
So my closing remark is, it's like, no, okay. Again, I'm pro-choice, but I feel like, because women, we actually started the concept of polygamy. Okay, it was us who came up with this solution to the problem. So my closing remark is, brother, stop pushing this idea on women, trying to convince them, because a woman who's spiritually involved and knows, the real deal doesn't have to be convinced. What you're convincing her of is your capability to do your part. And if a woman comes into the situation and sees that you can't, then you need to accept that for yourself. We need to individually evolve spiritually, sexually, dealing with our securities, our egos, and again, just have a real understanding about what this is about and not your own selfish motives. Again, I am pro-choice. Whatever whatever that group of individuals decide, as long as it makes you happy, I'm all good for it. But to say if we're ready for it on a large scale, I mean, again, we can't even economically get our shit together. So how are we going to get our institution of marriage together? So that's my spill.
Fantastic, sis. I just want to close by saying that we answered the question, I think, thoroughly. Is polygamy necessary? No, it's not necessary. When you look at the statistics regarding the African-American population growth, we don't have an issue there. Is there a slight difference in the ratio of men to women? Absolutely. If you go to different demographics, Is there a higher concentration of one gender versus the other? Absolutely. But overall, like across the United States, is it a huge difference in the ratio of men to women? Absolutely not. When we went over the ancestral reasons for practicing polygamy, we saw that some are relevant to today and others aren't. When we talked about building a labor force, that's what they did back then. Are we trying to build a labor force today? Absolutely not. Does polygamy provide the women involved in it with a supportive system regarding childcare and domestic help? Absolutely. Does it deal with the barren issue? I believe so, because I do believe that some women, you got some women, like I have a buddy of mine, and I'm not going to call his name out, but he's married, he has children, but he wants more children. His wife is, I think she's in her 40s, and she's like, I'm done, I'm done. So he's like, well, do you want to bring another woman, into this cipher to bear more children? Because he's like, I don't think that it's fair to me that I don't produce or reproduce, produce more children simply because you just decided that you don't want any more children. So I think in aspects like that, it can help. I think when a woman can't have children or doesn't want to have children, and you bring another woman in who does, so I believe that helps out as well. Do I think that it's a cure to infidelity? Absolutely not. I believe that you are who you are at the end of the day. So I don't believe that polygamy will cure infidelity. Was monogamy or polygamy the general rule in antiquity? Well, now we know the answer to that monogamy was really the general rule back then. So that lays to rest brothers and sisters who are saying, oh, it was the primordial foundation of the family. Everybody was polygamy. Like, let's cut it out. Let's cut it out. Up until the 10th century, people were monogamous. And the only people that practiced polygamy were those who could afford it. What they say today, it ain't tricking if you have it. I think that's the little it ain't tricking if you got it or something like that. So polygamy was a social rank. It was a social rank, and it was exclusive to those who could afford it. Up until the 10th century, when we were when Islam really expanded. So other than that, the Africans stood on duality. They stood on complementarity. I just want to close by saying that I am pro-choice also. I don't knock anybody for practicing polygamy. Again, I think that polygamy, I really feel like if polygamy is done the right way, it could be a beautiful thing. I think that the brothers who are just trying to practice polygamy are going about it the wrong way, especially when you have a bunch of women living in one dwelling space. Now, can it work? It may work, for certain people, but I am of the opinion that every woman should have her own space. I remember growing up in the household with my mother, and when I became of age, like when I grew into my womanhood, we bumped heads. So I can only imagine, living with other women. It would have to be a situation where one was probably like the alpha female and the other ones weren't. Because can you imagine having two alpha females in the household together? It's not gonna work. So you would have to get an alpha. Yeah, you would have to get an alpha female, and then the other women would have to be. What is the other letter?
I guess the beta female.
Yeah, she would have to be. The beta female. Thank you. She better be the beta female. Because with two alpha women, it didn't work. It doesn't work because again, when I was living in the house with my mom, she's an alpha woman and I'm an alpha woman. And so when I grew into my womanhood, we began to bump heads. And I'm sure that a lot of women with daughters can relate to that you do get to a point where you bump heads. So I can only imagine, sharing a space with women that I don't share, a biological connection with or, a history with.
Can I add something, sis?
Yes, sister. Yes.
But it's good that you say that because brothers, if they are going to even consider practicing it, they need to understand that those women have to get along in order for that to work. Like, it's not about you and, okay, I like these 4 women, so I want these 4 women to be my wives. Those 4 women have to be able to coexist, even if they don't live in the same house.
That's right.
They still have to have the same understanding. You know how hard that is? As women to get a group of women to have the same understanding and the same mindset as you, and to be down with that, that's not easy at all. And then what if somebody changes their mind down the line? I mean, that can happen too. People change like the wind. So, you know, they have to keep that in mind. So when they keep talking about this polygamy thing, number one, you would actually need one queen that you have been with, that rock with you, that's cool with that. And then number two, she would have to be the one that's comfortable enough to bring that to the forefront and say, hey, you know, well, I've been checking out this sister, or blase, and I like her feel and her vibe, because it's about their vibe and connection. It ain't about you. Because a man, he can pretty much, I won't say he can vibe with any female, but I mean, he can make it work easier than other women can make it work. You know what I'm saying? With each other. Oh, yeah. So, you know, they need to keep that in mind. They really do. Yeah. I know my temperament, I ain't with it. So, and that's the average woman. She ain't trying to hear that. She don't want to do that at all.
And I love that point that you raised, sis, that the men who do practice it, and I'm pretty sure the men who've practiced it and practiced it successfully understand that, man, you know, with these women, you know, she has to be involved in that decision and bringing another woman to the circle. Like you said, you get some sisters you just don't click with. You just don't like it. It can't be you go out and you meet these women, and because you vibe with them, you want to bring them into our abode.
Right.
It's not going to work, especially
you're asking for trouble.
You're asking for trouble, especially if you have a dominant, you know, woman in your abode. So it definitely has to be a collective decision.
And somebody brought up Brother Polite, Dr. Mayat. Somebody had brought up him and his wives, but maybe it's just me. But every time I see them together, him and his first wife, that's who I see the vibe and connection with. Those other wives, to me, they just look so out of place, and so it just looks awkward. Like, it almost low-key looks staged when I see them together. Like, it doesn't seem, I don't see the fluency within them. I don't see a unit. I see one man and his main queen and a bunch of side chicks. That's what it looked like. It's like, if that's what polygamy is gonna be, that's not what it is. Because they don't look comfortable. They don't look comfortable with their skin. What'd you say, sis?
No, I was saying it's a business, because that's what he says a lot. Family is business. You know, and I know he took on, I think they're recently together now, Miss Wright's Way. She's known for, like, you know, breastfeeding. Exactly. You know, she's a real advocate for breastfeeding. And I remember seeing his wives from before, and I know one, like the dark one, and the other one with the gap. She's really beautiful though, like model-like. I remember them two being the most consistent, but there was a third one that I don't see around anymore, so forth and so on. But like you said, mainly I do see him and the darker one, and excuse me, I forgot her name, like no disrespect, but together more. And it's instances like that where, you know, women start to feel neglected or left out. And so in essence, what we're being asked to do is suppress ourselves in these relationships. And that's what I see the biggest problem. When you're in a polygynous relationship, as a woman, you have to suppress yourself, because you could be wanting to get all hot and freaky tonight, but it's the other lady's turn. You know what I mean? And for me, I just be like, you know, you just pulled out of her and you about to put into me, like, you know, yeah, we gotta be tight. You know what I'm saying? We sharing penis. That means the juices on his penis is either going in my vagina or wherever other hole y'all decide to stick it in, and we gotta share that response. Like, well, are you kidding me? No, we gonna be tight. We gotta know.
That's right.
We got to be womb steaming together, womb purling, yoni egging, all that stuff. Girl, please, that is no, ma'am.
But think about that though. When you think about health-wise, it has to be that way, because, boo, I got to know that you know how to clean your vagina. That's number one. We are women, so we have open wounds. You talk about sharing our wounds and stuff like that.
And not to mention,
I gotta know.
Not to mention the trauma that comes with it. You know what I mean? Like, each woman holds some sort of trauma in their womb, and so I'm sharing that with her. And again, my tantra crew, that's what we deal with. Like, we got to learn how to clean each other's womb. And honestly, I feel that these are the main people who need to get into this, because you got to understand how to give every woman the same amount of energy all the time. When in a relationship, no one should feel lack. No one should feel that there's scarcity. And that is a demanding job to be able to be successful at that. When you're in a polygamous relationship, making sure that everybody feels taken care of equally. That's a lot. And a lot of brothers ain't ready for that.
They
like,
just not that smooth.
honest.
I'm so glad you said that, because the average brother, I'm not trying to be funny, but they just not that smooth. They not that smooth, number one, to get it together with one female and to maintain it.
Yeah.
Right.
But number two, to do it on a multiple level, you know how hard that is?
Man,
That is hard.
Stop
That
it.
is hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that some brothers aren't. I'm trying to figure out the right word that I want to use. I think that they're kind of like they don't really understand their ability. Like, you have some brothers who really think I put it down. You know what I mean? Like, I put it down, and then when they leave, we're glad that you left. It was garbage. You get what I'm saying? Like, you have some brothers who, I guess I'm gonna say overestimate. I think that's the word that I was looking for. Like, overestimate like their abilities. You know, so they think that they're giving each woman an equal amount of energy, you know, time, affection, and they're not. They're not. You know what I mean? And so, anyway, with that said, I think that this was a beautiful topic.
Yes.
I appreciate all of the brothers and sisters who tuned in. Let me look in the chat room. I see Brother Doug 755. Brother Doug, that's my dude. He was disappointed that we didn't have the show last week. But a lot of the sisters had some stuff going on last week, Brother Doug, so that's why we couldn't convene. But I appreciate you, you know, even inquiring. You know, he inboxed me and he was like, "What's going on, Dr. Mayat?" You know, I was ready to tune in. We got Brother Jehudi Mayat. That's a brother that I love dearly. One of my other comrades in the building. Brother Sean P., my comrade. He's always in the building. And then there were a lot of sisters who joined us today. You had Sister Lessa Darcy. You had Anisha Green. We had Sister Olivia. She's a huge supporter of the sisterhood. Sister Olivia, you need to get on this panel.
Yeah.
Because you're here every Wednesday.
Yes.
from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Please join the panel. And every Wednesday I post the link to join the panel on my Facebook page. And Sister Raziki does the same. Sister Kaba does the same. Sister Wakisho does the same. So please click that link, Sister Olivia. We would love your input, my sister. We have another sister in the building, the sis. She joins us every Wednesday. We appreciate your support, sister. Someone named Adina April. I appreciate you, sis. I see you in the building. Let me see if I see some other brothers, because there were a few other brothers. Yalil Haru, we appreciate you, brother, for listening in. Are there any other brothers that I missed? I'm trying to look, brother, Sister Ayana, we appreciate that, sister. I'm looking for other brothers, because I did see some. Mike Speed, he joined us. 42 Tribes joined us. We appreciate you, brothers, for tuning in.
Yes, thank you.
I'm trying to think, do I see any more brothers? Did I miss anyone? Sister Raziki, I'm looking, I'm scrolling.
I think you got them all. The sister, Sunflower Child up in here. I think you got them all. Ayana, Anisha, yeah, you got them all.
Got them all. Okay, so please tune in every Wednesday with Tea Talk with the Sisterhood. Every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Again, sometimes we run over. We do, like right now it's 2:37, and I think we got started a little late. But please join us every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. to discuss, you know, issues in the communities, hot topics that may have occurred between one Wednesday to the next. So please join us. Sister Alina, we need you on this panel, sis, every Wednesday.
All right, I will be here.
I've been trying to get you on this panel every Wednesday, man.
I know. I made it.
Yeah, you made it. So I appreciate your presence, my sister, Sister Raziki. You know, I appreciate your presence as always, my sister. You're here every Wednesday. You know, you're here every Wednesday. So I appreciate your commitment, your loyalty, and dedication, my sister. So yeah, man, and I want to do another show talking about the importance of the sisterhood bond. A lot of sisters, we need to really, and I think Sister Naya and Sister Monica and Sister Jackie were talking about coming up with a sister code. You know, I think that we need to have a sister code.
Yeah.
What are the don'ts?
Oh, you remember my video I made on that, sis? You remember that? I was talking
No,
about
tell me.
Code.
Elaborate on that, sis. No, I wasn't
was
aware.
Basically saying, like, where's the love within the sisters?
Yes.
Like, we have
Yes.
no love for one another. Like, I was talking specifically how sisters are always talking about, girl, he was all in my inbox, or these brothers be in my inbox and they got a girl. So I always ask the sisters when they say that, did you tell his queen? And they always say no. And I'm like, but why not though? Like, I don't get that. Where's the code at? There's a certain brother code that exists.
Right.
If a man see his homie's wife doing something with another man, or he's heard, or she came at him or something, he's gonna tell it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to women, it's like we take that as some type of notch on our belt, like, yeah, her man was trying to get with me. Like, we like that.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what I was talking about. Where's the sister code? Where's the love? Where's the respect? We don't have that. It's lacking. It's severely lacking.
Yeah, and I do remember that show, Sister Alima. I'm glad that you elaborate, like you expounded on what you stated. I do remember that video. Where, like you said, where is the sisterhood? And the brothers do have a code for a certain, they're like, no, it's do's and don'ts that they had as men. They just do it. And we don't do that as women. We do stuff, we think, you know, we got the salt and pepper mentality. If you mess with me, I take your man. And
right.
That's sort of rhetoric. But there needs to definitely be a sister code, you know, in the sisterhood. We need to bond, come together, and build. And I'm talking about truly build together. These sisters, and I'm not going to call out the group. I'm getting ready to remove myself from the group on Facebook. Some sisters put me in a group, and then it went from the sisters building and venting to like bisexuality. I'm like, yo, don't put me in no shit like that. And I don't even mean to curse, you know, but like, I'm here to build with the sisters. I don't care about, I'm not gonna say I don't care, but you know, your man and what you got going on, and I'm here to build. How can we resurrect the Black community? You know, so sis, are you involved in economics? You know, are you a business owner? Hey sis, you know, are you involved in education and curriculum development? Hey sis, are you involved in healing? Hey sis, are you involved in agriculture? Hey sis, do you have a blog talk or like some media outlet? That's what we're here to do. We're not here to gossip about an individual. We're sisters that are here to build. And every sister on this line, I build with these sisters. I'm talking about outside of this tea talk with the sisters. We build. Everyone on this line has something going on. Please, Sister Raziki, explain what you got going on. And then I want Sister Alima to talk about her book. Talk to the people about what you have going on, sis.
Absolutely. Well, again, this year we're launching Nature's Crown International, and we are looking to be our #1 food source. We do not own or control our food supply at all. We also do not produce as we used to. So the basis of Nature's Crown is to create an avenue to distribute the creations that a lot of us are producing, but we may not know how to get it to the market. We also do agriculture, we do workshops, health and wellness. And then my other work, again, dealing with Tantra, but my perspective is like healing our relationships and broken men. So that's the work that I do as far as, you know, personal wise dealing with community and business wise dealing with our economics.
Sister Alima, please tell the brothers and sisters who are watching what you have going on. Please, my sister.
Right now, I'm trying to, as you know, I have a book come out. If you don't know, I have a poetry book that came out, Perceptions of a Misplaced African. That's African with a K, available now on Amazon.
Sis, where's the book? Hold on, where's the book? Please show it. Do you have a copy like where you can grab it and
get
it
around? Yeah. Right here, can y'all see this?
Love it.
Let me step into the light.
Love it.
Okay, Perceptions of a Misplaced African, available now on Amazon. It is a poetry book. It's not your typical poetry book. It's not just about love poems. So, you know, it speaks about, you know, just my perspective on different things, our liberation, spirituality, issues that we have with Yurugu, you know, just to name a few. But that is my focus in promoting that, and also working on volume 2, which will be coming out soon. And that's Inceptions of a Misplaced African. So that's going to be a little bit different.
Wow.
But that's definitely.
Sis.
You went out, sis.
Okay, I'm back. My husband just called. I had to hang up on him. He'll be okay. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now, and trying to just get with more sisters, definitely, and build. Yeah. You know, everyone wants to start their own platform, and I do want to start a radio show maybe once a week, girls. I just want to plug that in, sisters. That will be poetry based to help promote my work, and then also promote other sisters' work, because there's so many other sisters, poets as well as artists, you know, spoken word. So I want to do that once a week. But you know, I really want to focus on just building with the sisters and whatever platforms that sisters already have, because we have so many already, and we just need to build on those that we have already. So
that makes sense.
That's what I want to do.
That makes sense, sis. Like you said, to build on platforms that are already, you know, available, versus trying to reinvent the wheel or start our own platform. I want to share my screen to show the sisters, to show the audience what I have going on. I think I already have it up. Sisters, can you see my screen? Maltrack. So I am a co-founder of Ed Anime Productions. Ed is short for educational. Anime, I wanted to make anime short for animation. I just didn't want to spell it with an A at the end, so I used an E. But this isn't anime. This is 2D animation that we're creating at Ed Anime. And what we're trying to do is recapture and reshape the minds of our children through using a pedagogy that consists of animation and hip hop music. About 2 or 3 years ago, we released Mel Trek. Mel is short for melanin. Trek means journey. So we're taking you on a journey to understand the history and culture of a melanated people. And so we have an entire series dedicated to exploring various periods in African-American history. Now, I like to just say African history, but you know, for those who aren't there yet, I say African-American. I have, if you go to edanimeproductions.com, you can purchase Mel Trek episode 1. It'll ship right away. We created this episode with the intent to teach the world that the origins of people of African descent do not begin with enslavement, but with greatness. So we take them all the way. We take them around Africa. The narrative involves a group of children who go back in time to explore various African civilizations, culture, and they look at the architectural achievements of African people, and they understand that children are taught that Africa is the birthplace of humanity and that all life comes from Africa. We are currently still working on Mel Trek episode 2. We actually finished Mel Trek episode 2 on December the 23rd. Shout out to all the brothers and sisters in the chat room who already purchased Mel Trek episode 2. I know brother Sean P, he put up a post. It was so funny, Sister Alima. He put up a post of a kid waiting at a mailbox, and he said, "This is how I'll be looking." He said, waiting on Mel Trek. And I thought it was too cute. I thought it was too cute. But Sean P, I want to let you know, brother, we finished the film on December the 23rd. We're currently revising the film. I saw some things, some visuals that I wanted to add, scenes that I wanted to kind of revise, and that's what's taking time. So hopefully we'll be finished by the end of January, and then we'll get it over to our manufacturer and have it shipped out by the second week of February. But in Mel Trek episode 1, the objective of this episode was to teach people about the indigenous cultures of the Americas, so to dispel the historical fallacy that Columbus discovered America. So we talk about the mound builders, we talk about the Olmecs, Mayans, and Aztecs, and the Incas, and so children are exposed to the geography of the Americas. They also learn about the untold African presence in the Americas prior to Christopher Columbus, because African people did travel here. Now, am I making the claim that we were the Olmecs, Mayans, and Aztecs? No, I'm not making that claim. But what I am saying, I am making the claim that we were here. So children are exposed to Abu Bakr. They're also taught about Alonso de Ilicus, who was among 17 shipwrecked Africans who ruled an entire province in Ecuador. They're also exposed to the fact that there were fossil findings of African men buried next to Mongoloid women in pre-classic Olmec cemeteries. So children learn about that. So we got a lot of things going on at Ed Anime Productions. You can go to Ed Anime Productions to see what's going on. We have different materials that we produce that will inculcate the information from the films in the minds of the children. We have an audio storybook getting ready to drop. We have a coloring activity book available. We also have a Pearl t-shirts, backpacks, hats. What else? Let me go back. Oh, most importantly for the parents who are watching, let me show you what we have going on. We also have unit plans available for, unit plans available for parents and homeschoolers, people who really want to, you know, a curriculum to teach your children this information at home. And each unit plan consists of lessons, a pre and post student assessment, and a student learning packet. So if you visit edanimeproductions.com and you become a member for $25 per year, not per month, but per year, you'll have access to unit plans. And right now we have 2 unit plans available. One unit plan teaches children about, well, it actually emphasizes or reiterates a lot of the information delivered in Meltrek episode 1. The second unit plan, I believe, and don't hold me to it, I think it teaches the children about the pyramids of Africa. I believe that's what it is. We're getting ready to upload a 3rd unit plan, which goes into the evolution of mathematics in Africa. So we talk about the Lumbambo bone and the Ashango bone and the different mathematical papyri that were produced from, that was produced in Kemet. So I think that for any parent who is interested in teaching their children, you know, our history, please visit edanimeproductions.com, become a member, and access these unit plans. So sisters, I don't have anything else. Let me stop sharing.
Just thank you for everybody tuning in, supporting the sisters. We definitely appreciate it. And real quick, because you and I were talking about this before, you know, as with any great deed, there are always going to be a certain amount of negative energy, naysayers, haters, if you will. And I just want to reiterate to these quote unquote conscious brothers who are so adamant about talking negatively about, you know, what sisters are doing. Keep in mind that your ancient ancestors were matriarchal and that they supported the efforts of women. And so I just, you know, want to close with that piece, and just thanks to everybody else who's been hitting us up in the inbox, supporting the business, inquiring about how we can come together. I love it. Salute.
Salute. See you next Wednesday, brothers and sisters. Peace. Peace.